Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Gil Rossi, investor and funds manager. In this part 3 of a series of 4 videos about dividends and share repurchases, I want to discuss some further implications of paying a dividend. We're going to focus also on the Buffett's letter of 2012. So let me recap what we saw in video 1 and 2, even though I encourage you to go and check it. I'm going to give a quick summary. So let me recap what we've seen so far. We started with an example in Buffett's shareholder letter of 2012, when he discussed dividend payments. He was talking about a company with a return on equity of 25% and the price to book of 1.12%. So that means the price at which the stock can be purchased in the market. He asked whether it was better for this type of company to pay a dividend or to reinvest the funds and allow shareholders to manufacture their own dividend in what he called the sell-off approach. And remember that what he was having in mind was that management should have the aim of maximizing value creation in the long run when they were going through this capital allocation decision-making process, which is the one he is proposing here. So we went through this exercise after 10 years, the shareholders in this scenario, in the sell-off, were better by 4.6%. So the net worth of the investors or shareholders at year 10 was better by 4.6. So this is what we did in part 1. In part 2, what I did was I asked what happened if instead of this return on equity and price to book, we have different combinations of return on equity and price to book. What would happen? Would this still hold or not? So I did a table in which we saw that when the price to book was larger than 1 plus return on equity, the sell-off was better. When the price to book was smaller than the 1 plus return on equity, the dividend alternative was better. And when this was exactly equal to 1 plus return on equity, it was indifferent. This one here, the zeros. In this case, when the sell-off is better, the company is creating value because the return on equity is larger than the weighted average cost of capital. Because we came to the conclusion that when this happens is when the price to book is larger than 1 plus return on equity. And then also, this is in the opposite case, this is what happens. It's better to pay a dividend instead of reinvest it into a company at a lower return than the weighted average cost of capital. So far, these are the implications of dividend payment in financial terms for a company. So what I said was, it doesn't make sense to pay a dividend without regard to whether the company is creating or not value with those funds, which it's going to use as a dividend payment. I want to start this video with a quick look at the share repurchases, which is the other way of distributing capital to shareholders. And it's also something that is discussed in that same letter of 2012 of Mr. Buffett. And this is what he has to say. He says, repurchases is sensible for a company when its shares sell at a meaningful discount to conservatively calculated intrinsic value. And he says, disciplined repurchases are the surest way to use funds intelligently. It's hard to go wrong when you are buying dollar bills for 80 cents or less. And really this to me is applicable for all investing decisions. Not necessarily investing in your own company, but also when you're making an acquisition or when you're investing into your own business, you always have to know which is the value that you're receiving for what you're paying. And this is exactly what Charlie Munger's definition of investing is. All investing, he says, is value investing. What he means is that if you don't know the value of what you're getting, you can't really call it investing. And I would suggest that you go to one of the videos I prepared some time ago. I'm going to leave a link in the description as well. But go to that video and check at around 40 seconds, Charlie Munger starts talking about value investing. So I think it's great to go and check it. Buffett goes on and says, but never forget, in repurchase decisions, price is all important. Value is destroyed when purchases are made above intrinsic value. So this is what happens. If you are in a company, let's say this is the before picture of the company with excess cash of 100 and the fair market capitalization of 1,000. With 100 shares outstanding, that means that the fair value is going to be 100 per share. And if the company repurchases at the premium, 5 shares at 12 per share instead of 10, therefore it will pay $60. This is what happens after. The company now has $60 less of cash and also has $60 less of fair market capitalization because cash was part of this fair market capitalization. Now if we have 940 divided by the 95 shares outstanding after they have purchased 5 back, then that means that the fair value of the company is 9.9 per share. So there was a destruction of value, as you see. So the shareholders received $60 and there was a transfer of value here. It's a transfer of excess value from the company to the shareholders, meaning that there was a destruction of value. This is what Buffett was talking about. So the summary of what we have seen so far regarding financial implications of distribution of funds to shareholders in way of buybacks or repurchases, if they are done at below fair value, then that creates value. This is what we just saw. If this repurchase is done above fair value, there's a destruction of value. Then dividends, if the company pays dividends where instead of investing them at a return on equity lower than weighted average cost of capital, of course, is a good thing and it's neutral in value. There's no value creation, but at least there is no value destruction. And this is when the dividend is better, what we have seen. But when dividends are paid, but instead the company would have been able to invest them at a higher return than weighted average cost of capital, then of course there's a destruction of value and the sell-off alternative is better. So this is so far the financial implications that we've seen. But there are other implications which are not necessarily financial implications for the company, but for shareholders. And we are going to keep basing our analysis on Buffett's 2012 letter. So he said, aside from the favorable math, there are 2 further and important arguments for a sell-off policy. First, dividends impose a specific cash-out policy upon all shareholders. So if, say, the company has a 40% dividend policy payout, and some want 30% and some others want 50%, of course, these are not going to be happy. They are going to be receiving less or more than what the company is paying. And he says of the 600,000 shareholders at 2012 time, he said that perhaps even most of them are in net saving mode and logically should prefer no payment at all. So keep in mind this statement talking about net saving or in accumulative period, because we're going to talk about this in the 4th part. This is what he's referring to when by its fixed nature dividends are only appropriate for a very small percentage of shareholders. So if you're paying a dividend that is exactly the same per share for everyone, of course there's going to be some that want more, some that want less. So if you receive a dividend and then you have to pay taxes, which is what normally everyone will have to do, except some of them probably will not have to pay taxes depending on their situation. So this is in the end what each of these shareholders will be receiving net of taxes. If we ask each of them what is what they really want to receive, probably this is the desired amount that they would want to receive. For those wanting less, they can just reinvest back into the business what they received extra. For example, in this case, this person can reinvest everything back into the business, or this portion for this other person. And for those that received less than what they want, they can either make up for this difference by going on the sell-off route that we discussed, or they can buy more shares of this business and so that they can receive exactly what they want. But keep in mind here that if you're buying more shares to increase receipts, you are investing more in that company based on your point of view and not based on the fundamentals of the company. So this is something that we have to keep in mind, and we'll discuss in part 4 as well. So let's check what happens to the investor that wants to reinvest the dividends that received extra. So this orange portion here is what each of these shareholders will have to reinvest back into the business, because they don't need this money. And let's assume they want to reinvest it. This is what happens. When you reinvest, you're going to have to pay 1.25 times book value. This is in our example. So when you invest, you're in essence going to be receiving 80% book value, because this is 1 over 125. So you're going to pay a premium to buy back that stock. And let's check what Mr. Buffett has to say here. He says, of course, a shareholder in our dividend paying scenario could turn around and use his dividends to purchase more shares. So what we're talking about here, reinvesting. But he would take a beating in doing so, he says. He would both incur taxes, well, we already discussed because he's receiving less here, the taxes, and also pay a 25% premium to get his dividend reinvested. So this is what we discuss here. Keep in mind that open market repurchases of the stock take place at the 125% of book value. So in summary, what happens to the investor that wants to reinvest is the following. When a company makes a profit and part of it is paid as a dividend to a shareholder, it's going to be paid on a one-to-one relationship. But then that person will have to pay taxes, and let's assume in this case this shareholder pays 15% taxes. Then that shareholder wants to reinvest the funds, so it will have to pay a premium of, as I said, 0.8 to 1 or 125%. So in essence, in the end, what he can reinvest is only 68% of what he received. This is what I call the round trip of reinvesting dividends. In the other case, in the no dividends alternative, he would have been investing 100%. So this is one of the drawbacks of dividend payment, that some of the shareholders are going to be worse off. The other one, the second disadvantage of the dividend approach, is of equal importance, Mr. Buffett says, which is the tax consequences for all tax-paying shareholders are inferior. So let's explain why Mr. Buffett says that. So if we have, let's say, identical cash receipts in a dividend scenario or in a sell-off scenario, both of them are receiving exactly the same amount. In the dividend case, all of this is going to be presumably taxed. And in the sell-off, only the capital gain is going to be taxable. You have to subtract the cost basis. Let me give you an example. Let's assume that we have 120,000 as this amount in both sell-off and dividend. And this 80,800 is going to be taxed at the 0 rate, and this 40,000 is going to be taxed at the 15 rate, if we follow this table. In the sell-off, if we have, let's assume, 70,000 as the cost basis, only 50,800 are going to be taxable, and they will all fall within this 80,000. So it's going to be taxed at 0. So this is what Mr. Buffett is talking about. And just to clarify, this is only for illustration purposes. I am not qualified to give any tax advice, but this is explaining what Mr. Buffett had to say in that letter. This would be the end of the part 3, and together with part 1 and part 2, they compose the whole analysis. As to, we've seen how management should go into the decision-making process when it comes to distributing cash to shareholders, either via dividends or by share repurchases. And in part 4, we're going to reach some more conclusions with all this, let's say, knowledge that we've acquired in these 3 videos. And from the perspective of the company, and also from the perspective of the shareholder, and also from those shareholders that invest in dividends as a strategy, the dividend investors. So until then, thanks very much. Thanks very much for watching, and I see you soon. Bye-bye.